Alright guys, so today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing an MCU tier list. That includes movies and shows as well. I'm pretty sure that there's some stuff on here, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that I wasn't prepared to rank, but it'll be alright. We'll figure it out. I've actually seen it, so we're all good. And so this is a little bit different than what we normally do. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier just ended, and I look back at my last tier list video type ranking for MCU stuff, and that was actually, I think, when Captain Marvel came out. That it doesn't even have Endgame or Far From Home included in it. So I figured we could update the list, and this is a significantly cleaner method of doing it than the way I did it last time. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I haven't really gave this any thought. I don't have a pre-planned list pulled up on another screen. So we're kind of just going to go through this randomly. You're not going to agree with a lot of the movies. Where I place them, I already know, especially at least two of them. But that's how these work. That's why they're entertaining to watch. When you disagree with the person, and you can go type your hateful comment down below and tell them that the list is wrong, that's the best part of these videos. So let's get into it. So I think it's best to start with the one that most people probably haven't seen and just get it out of the way now. Alright? So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right? Where does it go? Right? I extended this list a bit. Right? It didn't have an F on it. It needs an F on it. But, for TV shows, it's typically, they're good all the way the fuck. Yeah. That's the problem with the live recording, laddies, is, you don't get do-overs. So they're either good all the way through, right? Or they're bad all the way through, right? Those are your two. Or they have some good seasons and some bad seasons. Those are typically your three options with a TV show, right? And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is weird, right? Because it starts out good, and then gets bad, and then gets good again. So it's all over the place, right? So for that reason, I don't know. I was going to give it a C, but C feels kind of low. If we're calling C average, and looking at some of the other movies that we're going to have to place, this is definitely better than average. I would watch this again. So for that reason, I think we're going to go B on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Alright, so we got the one out of the way that a lot of people probably haven't seen, or at least the least amount of people who are watching this video have seen. So from there, I don't know where I'm going to go. The one that's sticking out to me is Hulk, right? And I know a lot of you put Hulk down here, right? Hulk. And where's like Thor the Dark World, you guys, I don't know where that is. Here it is. This is what you guys would do. Right? Put these down here. Yeah, I don't believe in that. It's not good by any means. But it's going in D, right? It's not F. There's at least two movies that go down here that are worse than this, in my opinion. Alright? This movie, everyone forgets about it. And, it's below average for sure, rightfully so. The movie's not great. But it doesn't annoy me like the F tier movies do. So, something I want to clarify, right? So, it's just like, if I take Avengers, right? Put it here. Most people, what they do is if they put 40 trillion things on a row, that's just their D tier, right? We're not doing that. We're getting super specific here. The more to the left it is, the better it is, alright? So, if I put Hulk all the way out here, that's the worst out of all of these D tier movies. I just wanted to clarify that up before we start getting more things on these rows. So, that being said, let's grab something random. Let's grab Ant-Man. This perfect place. This is a perfect middle tier movie. It's an average movie, right? If it was on TV, anything here or below, right? C or below. C, I would watch it if they were showing it on TV. D and F, I don't know. Like I don't want to get anywhere near these movies. Like I'm good. I don't need to ever watch those movies again. But Ant-Man, I just find it kind of boring. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, we'll get to that one. But Ant-Man, the villain isn't great. Ant-Man himself, I think, works better in everything else that he's in. He works better as a side character. They needed to introduce him, obviously, in his own movie. But personally, I just don't love this movie. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. And you know what? Some people aren't going to like that decision. So if we're doing that, let's just go piss some people off and do the Thor movies. Alright, the one that you guys want me to put down here, it's not down here. It's up here. Thor the Dark World is not that bad. It's not good by any means, but it is not that bad. There's movies that are worse than Thor the Dark World. Alright? The action at least in the first half. I mean, the final fight does suck. You got that, right? But the middle fight where they do the whole fake Loki death thing, that part's cool, right? Loki's good throughout the whole movie. He gets better from here on, and just... I don't hate Natalie Portman in these movies like a lot of people tend to, so I think, it's definitely below average. It's not the greatest movie, but it's not awful. It's not unwatchable, right? Now, that being said, let's talk about the first Thor. A lot of people would put this here. Just slightly better than Thor: The Dark World. Now, action-wise, I would agree with that, but story-wise and all that stuff, it's going up here, right? Thor, the original Thor, again, it doesn't compare to some of these, like, Infinity War, Endgame, sometimes these later MCU movies, right? But it's a good origin movie. It does what it needs to do, introduces the characters, sets up their world and all of that stuff. It works well. It's an average movie. And when I say average, this is an MCU list, right? If I go watch Taken 3 and give it a C, it is not the same C that I am giving Ant-Man, alright? That list is very different, okay? MCU, they've done this 24, if you count TV shows, 5, 6, however many times now. Everyone has higher standards, alright? That's how this works, just to be clear, alright? So if you see in an episode of the TRSS podcast, link in description, that I said Godzilla vs. Kong is a 8 or whatever I gave it, and then I give Infinity War an 8, that's not the same scale, alright? Those are very different movies, it's a very different scale. That's just how this works, alright? So, where's Thor Ragnarok? Here we go. This is gonna piss people off. And so, the only way I can explain this, it's not going here, but the only way I can explain this is I have a pet peeve with movies. And this was back when you actually went to a movie theater to see a movie. I know some of you might not have heard of that. And so, essentially how this works, my biggest problem with the movie, I guess there's two if you really think about it. If there's a joke in a trailer and you laugh at it in the movie, I hate you. And if there is a not funny joke and you laugh at it, I hate you. And this, is one of the reasons I prefer to watch a movie at home. Because if you laugh at a not funny joke, or a joke that was in the trailer, or something like that just ruined the whole movie for me. Right? It pisses me off. It just annoys me beyond belief. I don't know why. Just it's not funny. Especially when it wasn't even funny in the trailer. Alright? And so this being a comedy movie thing, this isn't really my thing. I, honestly, if I were to not be looking at a tier list right now, I would say this is the worst Thor movie. But it's definitely not an F tier movie, right? There's good parts of this movie, and it starts Thor's arc that I actually like, right? His Infinity War Endgame arc, I'm a big fan of. So we're gonna put it here, and let me move this around a little bit. That's better, right? Thor: The Dark World is better than Hulk, but Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion, it's pretty low on the list, right? And you can say that action is really good, but at this point, we've seen 20, good action movies that doesn't really do its thing. The story is fine. I don't really care about Hulk all that much. It's not that funny. I don't think it's that funny of a movie. The scene where Bruce Banner jumps out of the thing and splats on the ground and everyone dies laughing, I don't think that's that funny. But, again, that's just me. And speaking of a movie that I don't think is that funny, where's the first Guardians? This movie, this is rough. Because I don't think... No, we'll go see. Because I don't know. It's not as bad as some of these D tier movies. But I don't like the first Guardians, right? And that might be because I like Guardians 2 so much, right? But the first Guardians it's funny, right? There's funny parts, but I don't think it's hilarious, right? There's funnier MCU lines and funnier MCU movies. The action's okay. The villain's terrible, right? Ronan is such a throwaway villain, in my opinion. A lot of problems we're going to have with other movies on this list. But you have to give it some credit because it is creative and interesting and takes a bunch of, C-tier characters that weren't that popular and makes it a very popular movie. A lot of people love this movie. Now, speaking of love a movie, our first A-tier movie on the list. Guardians 2 absolutely fucking smacks. And if you disagree, you're an idiot. If you don't cry at the end of this movie, there's something wrong with you. Freaking Rocket's arc. God, I almost said Rocket's Groot. Rocket's arc in this movie is so good. And Yondu, his arc, and they're like parallels. And they're it's so good. This movie smacks. I don't think any other solo movie except for one that is this good. The only movies that are going to be above this, I'm almost positive, looking at them, are team-up movies. So, again, we're getting into it, right? We're getting there. We got a decent foundation, 8 movies down. I can't do math, so however many left to go. And we're getting into it. And I know some people have probably already left after I put freaking Thor the Dark World not in F tier. But that's how it is. And you know what? We've done a couple of good movies in a row. We've done some controversial stuff. Let's keep the train rolling, alright? The first Avengers movie, B. Everyone just left the video. 0 views. Video's over. And so, let me explain this, right, before you leave. Or if you've already left, I'll see you in the next video. But this movie, right, this is my tier list now. Okay? And so my tier list in 2012, obviously, this would not have been an S. I don't love this movie. It would have been an A. It's very good. But now, I've seen this movie so many damn times. And I honestly think every single Avengers movie is better than this one. It's just, it might be because I've seen it so many fucking times, but this movie, it's good, right? It's above average. It's good. You'll watch it. I'd watch it if it was on. It's a freaking good action movie. It's a good start. Gets everything going. But just the other Avengers movies are stronger. They work together better. I like the villains more. And so this one's sitting at a B. Again, it's not bad. We're actually going to move it over here because it's better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But that's my Avengers. So let's try to find a movie that isn't going to piss people off. How about Far From Home? Where's Far From Home? Here we go. This is an A-tier movie. This is a good movie. And that's because I hate... Well, I guess I have to do both these movies at the same time. Alright. So, the reason I like Far From Home so much is because I hate Homecoming. And these are two very opposite movies. Right here, it is Iron Man and Spider-Man the movie. And that is my problem with this. Spider-Man doesn't get to do anything in this movie. Right? He's just Iron Man Jr. And that's very much the thing here, right? But here, I feel like Tom Holland gets to actually, like, act in the movie. He gets to do something. He freaking is crying in the end. The fights are good. The movie looks great. And over here, honestly, I hated the suit in this movie. It really bothered me. The car scene where, like, they're going to the dance, that scene's really strong in Homecoming. But, I mean, Homecoming goes here. But it's not my favorite movie. I think if we were doing a Spider-Man tier list video, it would be in with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, right? With Sam Raimi's at the top, and then, you know, Far From Home's up there as well. But this movie's okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just fine. Now, like I said, Far From Home, the beginning's very slow, right? It definitely has a slow start. But once it gets going, and you get to, like, the second half of the movie, and Tom Holland gets to act, like I said earlier, this movie's good. This movie's very good. It's not as good as Guardians 2, but it's a strong, strong solo movie, right? And so this actually is the movie that made me like Tom Holland. This is actually our latest MCU movie, so that's really interesting. Ended on a strong finish, but if you count TV shows... Not necessarily. Let's talk about Wandavision while we're talking about TV shows. So, I have no clue where to put this, because I didn't expect this to be on here. And I've just been thinking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, it's definitely better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right? It definitely goes at least there. But my problem is, the first 3 episodes, I mean, it's built up and they have to be there, but they're slow. Right? It's especially for a weekly release. This was released all at once. It definitely wouldn't be as bad. But, and it is good that they released the first 2 episodes together. But they still, over 2 weeks, technically 3 if you're waiting, right? They really drug this out. And so I think we're going to leave it right here in B. It's good. It tells a good story. It's interesting. The two characters that are in the title of the TV show, hint, hint, are actually equally balanced in the show for a majority of it. I absolutely fucking hate the ending, but that's just because that's Marvel's thing and they had to do a big CGI fight. I wish that Wanda would have just been the bad guy, set her up for the Phase 4 bad guy. That's why this is an S tier. If Wanda just started fucking murdering people in the end of this and became the bad guy, just went crazy, this would be an S tier TV show. Alright? But that's not what happened, so that's why I've put it at B. And I want to save Falcon and the Winter Soldier for the end, because that's going to be a rant, 1, and 2 for editing reasons, because they don't have a block for this. And so, where to go from here? Let's go Doctor Strange, right? Where does Doctor Strange fit on this list? And looking at it, this is hard, because I like Doctor Strange, right? I think he works very well in his own movie as well as a side character. He's interesting. It, brings a lot of mystical shit. They can do the multiverse, which is where they're going to go with everything. So I think what I'm going to do with Doctor Strange is put it low B. I think. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Low B. It's good. It's definitely better than all of these movies. It's better than this. I don't know if it's better than WandaVision. The beginning of this movie is kind of slow, and the training stuff isn't great, but just kind of the implications of everything this movie introduces, I think is going to carry the MCU into Phase 4. And so, that being said, you could put it lower, saying that's not the greatest solo movie, but it introduces a lot of interesting stuff with Time Stone and all that stuff, really picks us up into Infinity War and all of that stuff. I think it's a solid movie. So here's my problem with what we have left, right? At least 3 of these movies are going to piss people off wherever I put them, right? Especially 2 of them. Alright, especially 2 of them. And so, let's do this. This will be a fun one to do. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? I want to put it C, because when I talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, right, with friends and just on podcasts and stuff, when I talk about it, I say it's the most average meh movie there is, right? That's how I would describe this movie. But then, when I look at it again on a tier list, next to Thor and Guardians and Ant-Man, it is nowhere near as good as these movies, right? So what's fucking going down here? But is it worse than Thor the Dark World? It's definitely better than Hulk. But does it deserve to go in which one of these slots? Honestly, it does not fucking matter. We're putting it here. Alright, this movie, right, it just takes everything I don't like about Ant-Man and just amplifies it by 100. This movie is so fucking boring. I don't know why. I literally can't tell you. I've seen this movie at least 3 times, and I can't tell you what happens. Right? They chase a suitcase around for a while or something. The villain is so Ghost or whatever her name is. I don't fucking care. They do quantum realm shit. That's the only reason this movie exists, is to, introduce that for Endgame. But, my biggest thing is, I guess, it's after Infinity War. And so, once you see where I put Infinity War on this list, you'll understand the hype coming off of that into this, I think, is one of the reasons this movie doesn't work so well for me. But it's also just a very meh movie. It's one of those movies like Thor Ragnarok that has a lot of jokes in it that I just don't think are funny. Like whenever he's running around with the freaking big hoodie on, he's like a little kid, and then he grows big or whatever. That's not funny. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not a fan of them in their own things. They work really well as side characters and just people to, fill up screen space, but they don't need their own movies. They don't need Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm good. So that being said, I feel like that was a pretty tame placement. Alright? It's not gonna piss too many people off. People don't absolutely love that movie. It was an okay placement. Now, with what we have left, I don't know how to do this. We'll do Iron Man 2. Alright? Because not a lot of people don't really like this movie. People think that it's the worst one, it's rushed. It feels like nothing happens, yet it's a very long movie. And so it's definitely not B, right? It's definitely C. But I think it's the best of C, right? I'd rather watch this before I watch any of this. And that's just because, one, I was like 11 or something when this movie came out. And the suitcase suit, that's fucking sick. But, again, the Whiplash thing is really fucking bad. Hammer, Jonathan, something Hammer, he's cool. Should bring him back to like a TV show, put him in something. He's really good in this movie. He's the best part of the movie, right? They replace Rhodey. I don't really care. That's fine, whatever. But the suits are cool. The villain sucks, like a problem we have in a lot of these movies. So I just think it's a good middle-of-the-road movie. It's not great, it doesn't do anything for the MCU, but it doesn't hurt it either. It's just kind of there. And so that being said, we're going to go ahead and do the other 2 Iron Man movies, because people aren't going to agree with me on this. So this one, Iron Man 1, is going in B, right? And again, this might be because I've seen this movie so many times, but I don't think it is because I haven't seen it as much as Avengers. It's definitely higher B. But it's not my favorite movie ever. And that's going to piss a lot of people off because people really like this movie. But I find that the beginning of this movie kind of drags on. The whole thing in him in a cave could have maybe been 5 minutes shorter. And the middle drags on. The villain fucking sucks. But it introduces Iron Man. So you have to give it respect there. I think the best part of Iron Man 1 and what they could have carried on and shown, at least in the beginning of Iron Man 2, is the part where the Jets attack him and he's just like fighting the 10 Rings people out in Afghanistan or whatever and just like being a superhero, like doing his thing. That's definitely the best part of the early Iron Man movies, right? But again, the villain's really bad. It's just a big Iron Man, which happens here and technically here. It's all over the place, right? And so I don't love this movie, and I'm trying to stall putting the next movie on the list because it's going to piss people off. But I fucking love Iron Man. No, it's better than Far From Home. Iron Man 3 fucking smacks, alright? Iron Man 3 is so good, and everyone hates this movie. This is like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 movie of the Iron Man trilogy, right? A lot of people, honestly, I think would put this movie here. Maybe even here, right? But I think this movie's really good. It lets Tony Stark be Tony Stark, right? We've had Avengers at this point, so we've seen them kind of advance and go further. And this is really, in my opinion, the last time before Endgame that you get to see Tony Stark, right? Everything after this, he's just fucking Iron Man. This movie has a lot of Tony Stark in it, which works really well. He does all of his mechanic shit, and he's building bombs, and the suit I really like. It might just be because the Mark 43, I think, is the main suit in the movie. The red and gold one that like comes to him. That's my favorite suit. That thing's fucking sick. But I really enjoy this movie, right? And again, the villain isn't great, and I'm talking about the real villain, the Mandarin twist. That was cool. If you don't like that because, in the comics the Mandarin is a real bad guy, go watch Shang-Chi when that comes out. Alright? Get over yourself. It was cool. You didn't see it coming. It was a good twist. As my good friend Ryan Johnson says, it subverted your expectations. Alright? So, but in a good way, not like a Last Jedi kind of way. So, that was great. I really like Iron Man 3. I doubt there's anybody still watching this video at this point, because I've probably pissed everybody off. But we're almost done. We're getting there. And while we're pissing people off, we might as well continue. Let's put Civil War somewhere. And so here's my problem with this movie. Right? Civil War, I want to say, is when I was old enough to, like, understand what was happening. And not in a sense where I couldn't understand at 12 what was happening in the Avengers movie. But to where I really understood things and how movies worked and how things were made and what a good story is and all that stuff. This is where I really got into seeing what happened in the comics and how the movies and the comics relate. And so I went into Civil War with very high expectations, expecting either Iron Man or Captain America to die. And then we get to the airport fight, and they're not even like trying to fight each other. They're just slapping each other basically. And so that really pisses me off, right? I hate the airport fight, and that's a lot of people's favorite part in this movie. It's a lot of people's favorite moment in the MCU. But the end fight between Cap, Bucky, and Iron Man, that's what I needed the airport fight to be. I wanted them to absolutely kill each other. And I understand they can't just kill off all of their characters halfway through their saga, but somebody needed to fucking die in this movie. And I get it, like, Rhodey got shot, but no one fucking cares about Rhodey. And so it's definitely not this low of C tier, but it's C. I'd put it like, it's here. Right, like, no, there. That right here in the middle. There we go. Fucking technical issues. And, like, all the Captain America stuff's fucking great, right? But it's definitely not. Everything else really pisses me off. I just don't love this movie, right? The Cap and Iron Man going back and forth, that's good. That could bring it up to here, you know. But to get it to A, we would have needed, even S, we needed a stronger airport fight and a character death if we want to put this in S. But where the fuck did I have this in C? Alright, so that's just my opinion on that movie. Now, there's two of these movies that I'm sure people are looking at that are waiting for me to put down that I purposely haven't gotten anywhere fucking near, right? But I think before we start getting into all these other movies, we need to put these two down. And so I don't know which one is better to do first, but fuck it, no, it's going there. Captain Marvel fucking sucks. This movie is so fucking bad. I've seen it, I think, twice, and I can't sit through it. It's awful. It's not funny. It has a lot of the problems that I have with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we'll get there in a minute. And the action, they make her way too overpowered. You can't introduce a new character this close to the ending and expect people to like them when they're this overpowered, right? Like, you could have introduced an Ant-Man or a Hawkeye or someone like that this late, to where they're useful, they're cool, they do their thing, but they're not insanely overpowered. At the end of this movie, Captain Marvel is just fucking invincible, right? And she's so overpowered, and I'm glad that Thanos beats the shit out of her in Endgame, because she's just too strong. And, you know, I don't hate Brie Larson, right? She's good in Kong Skull Island, right? She's good in some other movies that I've seen her in, I'm sure. But, you know, I wouldn't be against her being in other things. It's just the way that Captain Marvel is written, the movie, and what she does in Endgame, and she just doesn't belong there yet. Maybe this should have been the first movie after Endgame. That would have been cool, but I understand why they had to bring her in when they brought her in. But I just really fucking hate this movie. Now, that being said, I don't know where to put this next movie, because, yeah, I don't like it either, but I don't know if it's as bad as Captain Marvel. And so, here's what we're gonna do. This goes down here, and I don't know. It either goes here or here. And I can't decide, because I really don't like this movie either. And the reasons I don't like this movie is very simple, very plain. It proves my point very well, and the fact that it took me, I believe, 4 sittings to get through Black Panther. And I don't mean I got bored and got up and left. I mean I literally fucking fell asleep 4 different times. And not I restarted the movie and fell asleep. I mean I got however many minutes in, fell asleep, then continued watching from that point, fell asleep, then continued watching from that point, fell asleep, then continued watching from that point, then fell asleep. That many times. I mean, I've watched the movie since then all the way through, but this movie is so fucking boring. And that's, at least Captain Marvel, the story is fucking terrible, but at least the action's fine, right? Black Panther, it's the exact opposite. The first scene you see where he's fighting all the people in the Jeeps, and I understand this is literally the point of the scene, you can't see anything, right? And I understand that's literally the point, like showing how he's stealth and all of his shit, but it bothers me. Put one fucking light in the scene at least, right? The end fight is terrible. I don't know anything that happens in between the like throne, fighting for the throne and like the waterfall thing. The 2 times that happens, those are the best parts of the movie. Everything else in this is not great, right? And I know a lot of people would put this movie up here, but for me, it goes down here. Now, that being said, I think we're done with the bad movies. I think we're good. We're clear. It's all positive from here on out. Not as positive as people are going to want this next movie to be. But the first Captain America goes... shit. It's definitely C. It's better than this. It goes there, alright? It's not that Captain America is a bad movie. It's definitely not a bad movie. It's a good... If you would ask me however many fucking years ago this movie came out, 10 plus years ago, this was a good movie, I'd say fuck yeah. I'd probably put this at like A. But just because, compared to everything else, right? Compared to like Infinity War, Endgame, Avengers, this is just such a small scale movie, right? And that's the thing with the MCU. You have to judge it interconnectedly, right? If you take fucking Ant-Man and make it its own thing, it's its own movie, it's not an MCU, it's just its own thing, it's not a fucking C tier movie. It's probably like a high B, right? But simply because it's MCU and it has so many things to compare to and, intertwine with, that's why, what are we even ranking? Captain America is where it is. Red Skull isn't great. He's interesting that he comes back later in Endgame and Infinity War, but it's a fine movie. It introduces a character, right? Now, that being said, what do I want to rank next? Oh, this one's going to fucking piss people off. Let's do Ultron. Ultron goes here. Ultron is so fucking good, and everyone says it's bad, and you're a fucking idiot, alright? This is... I can't say the best Avengers movie, because we still have 2 more, and those are really good. But it's so fucking good, right? First of all, you get to see them actually working as a team at the very beginning, right? That's something that the MCU needs, and again, something that we'll talk about in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when I get there. That's something that the MCU drastically fucking needs. It has like 40 trillion characters, and they're all doing their own fucking thing, and when they're together, they're not really working together. They don't do that until the very end of the first Avengers movie. Even in Civil War, everyone's kind of fighting on their own, just on teams. And so this kind of shows everyone working together. It tackles the whole team dynamic thing, and freaking we need to work together better, and, it's not original at all, right? You've seen this a million times, that, we work together, we can take them down. They do it in DC, they do it everywhere, but it works well. Fucking Ultron is a good villain, he's fucking scary. God, this movie's so fucking good. It has such a good Iron Man suit. Captain America has this thing going on now. Thor's a little bit better. Hulk is still Hulk. Hawkeye gets more development. I think it was a good thing when he got more development in this movie. They kind of push it a little bit later on. Like just fucking, he got his development. Let the motherfucker sit out for a movie. But this movie's so good. And if you think it's bad, yes, it is better than the first Avengers movie. Alright? And it's better than another movie that I'm going to be putting down here in a second. But I don't know what to do with these last 3. So let me put down the one that's probably going to piss people off the most. Which one of these is Endgame? Does that say Endgame? This is Endgame. Alright, so, Endgame. This movie goes here. Alright? Now, why does Endgame go here? Right? This is my biggest problem with Endgame. Right? The first hour, right, from when the movie fucking starts until Ant-Man is doing the thing where he goes through the portal and, like, Tony Stark shows up and they've made the portal, that whole hour, however long that is, that part fucking sucks, right? I hate that part of the movie. I would gladly skip that part if we were watching this movie, if it was on TV, just fast forward through that part. I absolutely hate everything in there. In the movie theater, in the beginning, when they killed Thanos, right, and they just killed him at the very beginning, that beyond pissed me off, if you asked me. If you asked me where I put this movie after I watched it, immediately after I watched it, when I came out of the theater, it would have been down here, right? I hated this movie when I came out of the theater. I'm pretty sure it was this movie. But it goes up here because it is a 3-hour long movie, and the second hour is really good, and the third hour is really good, but just the beginning is awful, right? It's so slow, and just nothing happens. I don't like Ant-Man. It's not a great beginning, but once it gets going, it's good, so that makes up for it. But I'm not putting it up here, because I don't believe, you can't have the best ending ever. Right? You can't put an Endgame fight at the end of Captain Marvel and move it out of F. That's just not possible for me. Right? You can't have a TV show with 6 episodes and have one good episode and have it carry the rest of the show. Hand in hand. Alright. So these last 2 movies. Obviously, at least I hope you know where they're going. I just don't know which... They're both fucking going up here. Alright? I just don't know which one's better. Because the way I have to look at it is, this is a solo movie. And for a solo movie to be better than all of these other movies is really strong. Right? That's a really strong point. But also, with Infinity War, you have to think all of these movies led up to this. Right? So if we're talking as an MCU, as a cinematic universe, as a collection of movies leading up to one event, Infinity War is the better movie. But if you're talking about as a solo movie, something that you've never seen a fucking Marvel movie, you don't know who Captain America is, you don't know who Iron Man is, Winter Soldier is a better movie. Winter Soldier just has fucking everything. Alright? It's a spy movie, it's a superhero movie, it's an assassin movie, it just has fucking everything. It's so good. His suit, this is by far the best suit. It's so fucking, Nick Fury has like the LMG in his car and he puts his lightsaber through the floor. This movie is so fucking good. This is the best MCU movie, and that's the thing. If I had to choose between watching Infinity War and watching Winter Soldier, I'm choosing watching Winter Soldier. But as an event, as a saga of everything leading up to Infinity War is the better movie, right? And I chose Infinity War as the better movie because there's a natural progressional build throughout Infinity War, right? Endgame, I feel like, has pacing problems, and it's not necessarily Marvel's fault for this, right? It's just how movies and media goes, right? They lose at the end of Infinity War, and so you know they're going to win and bring everyone back at the end of Endgame. That is very clear that is going to happen. So you're essentially just waiting for that to happen in Endgame. In Infinity War, you have no clue what's going to fucking happen, right? If you went into that movie thinking Thanos was going to win, you're lying to me, right? And, I mean, you could have had a suspicion that he was going to win, because they split the movie into 2 parts, but I was not expecting that, right? I went into that movie, and what comes before Infinity War? I'm going to look that up real quick. I'll be back in a second. Alright, so Black Panther comes before Infinity War. I just looked that up, right? And then you have, like, Guardians 2 and Spider-Man and all that stuff. And so, what's interesting is I didn't see Black Panther when it came out. I saw Black Panther, I think, after Endgame but before Far From Home. And every one of these other movies I saw in order, I believe. And so, Infinity War, I don't know what it was, what came out, because I really like Guardians 2, but I went into Infinity War with the lowest of expectations, right? These two movies, well, I had not seen this, and this was not out yet. So I went into this with, like, this is going to be the worst MCU movie expectations. I expected it to be fucking terrible, right? Because how can you do that, right? And this was an argument we had years ago, right? How can you have a satisfying conclusion with all of this shit building up to it, right? And that might be why I like the movie so much, because I went into it with expecting such shit expectations, right? But I really like this movie. So, we're getting long here. This video is supposed to be half this length, but here we are. And so, this is my MCU tier list. Now, I totally forgot we have to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So let's talk about it. So we're going to pretend, what's a movie we can take? We're going to take this. Captain America, this is our Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Alright? I need a second. Alright, so I'll be back. Alright, I returned, and so this is our Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Remember that. Alright, so let me just put it down here where it belongs. And so, this movie, it's not a movie, because I'm looking at the Winter Soldier thing. It's not a movie, it's a TV show. This show fucking sucks, right? This is the worst MCU content ever made, right? And that's, like, by far. I'd rather watch Captain Marvel. At least something fucking happens in Captain Marvel, right? Falcon and the Winter Soldier, literally, the show starts with those first 10 minutes of, like, look at this cool-ass shit, and then it says, fuck you, watch the rest of our show. Hope that was entertaining. The rest of the show is so fucking boring, and it really pisses me off, because they introduced the whole idea of, well, all Falcon stuff in the first episode's fucking boring, but with Bucky in the first episode, they introduced the idea of him going around and, like, talking to all the people who are family with people that he fucking killed as the Winter Soldier. That would be really cool. It was like a show on that, and he's like going to confront the people, and some people try to kill him, and some people are okay with it, and that would be a really interesting show, right? Well, fuck that. They didn't do that, right? They introduce it, and they don't touch it until the last episode, and they just show you the book completed, right? And then Falcon has nothing to do. Right, he decides he doesn't want to be Captain America, and that's it. Right, he does nothing. At the end, he's like, maybe I should be Captain America. So he becomes Captain America, and his outfit looks fucking dumb. And this show's bad. I complain, and we talk about this in the TRSS podcast link in the description, about each episode each week. And my biggest problem is the first, I guess technically episode 2, 3, 4, they give Falcon nothing to do, because they keep putting him fucking inside, right? And he can't do anything inside, right? And so it's just the Bucky show, and Zemo when it gets to that. And then they transition to putting everything outside, and then it's just a fucking Falcon show. And then it just becomes this whole thing about race, and so that's a problem that we have to fucking talk about. And so where's Captain Marvel? So, if we look at Captain Marvel, right, a lot of the problems people have with Captain Marvel is the whole thing around the movie is, I'm a woman, and a woman can do anything, all that bullshit, right? And so, my problem with this is that in Captain Marvel, at least, it's very clear that's what they're trying to say. It's not, they're not hiding it, it's not subtle, it's very clear that's what they're trying to say. But at least in Captain Marvel, she does not walk out to a group of people and say, I am a woman and I can do this because I am a woman. That's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier does for multiple episodes, for multiple minutes. And I was saying this in our podcast episode, link in description, that if you were to take all of that right? The very in-your-face, social justice shit. And, obviously I'm not talking about women stuff in Falcon. You can figure it out. But if you were to take all of that out of the show, right, and just subtly put it in there, here and there, you could probably trim an entire episode out of this show. Right? And I don't understand how people like this show, because there's people who like story, right? That's typically me with this type of stuff, right? The action's fine, but it needs a good story. The story is fucking terrible, all right? They introduce John Walker, and he's good, and then he's bad, and he's good, and then he's bad, and then he's good, and then he's bad, and then he's good again, right? And then they end it. John Walker is a fucking bad guy, all right? He is good, and then they hint that he's bad, and then he just should have turned bad, and that should have been it. Right? He should have been the main bad guy. Karli Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers is a really interesting idea of, this world where, the borders are down and everyone's working together because of the snap and all of that stuff. And that's a really interesting idea. Could have been really cool. But the problem is, they tell you this. So, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier, sorry, they tell you that everything was fucking great while the people were gone. But in Endgame, they literally, the only thing they show you, the only images and references you have for this 5-year gap where everyone's gone, is Captain America's therapy thing, and when Ant-Man comes back and is walking around and just everything looks like utter shit. There's garbage everywhere. People are fucking depressed. It's all dark and foggy and shit. They want you to think just the place is a shithole. Everything's gone to hell, right? Then they come here and tell you that everything went great. So, obviously there's some confliction there that they need to figure their shit out. So there's the story. The Flag Smasher stuff is so bad. Karli Morgenthau is a terrible villain. You need subtitles to understand what the fuck she's saying. And so that's that. Right? From there, you have the action. The action is only good in the first episode and in the last episode. So those people aren't entertained. So the only people this entertains, and it doesn't even entertain those people. I was going to say the social justice people. But that's, 30 minutes in one episode and 15 minutes in another episode. So it's not like that's throughout the entire show. It's just in, the second half of it. So I don't know who this show is for. And you could say, oh, well, it's for Falcon and Bucky fans. There are not Falcon fans. Alright? People don't like Falcon. Falcon's cool. He's a cool side character. He works well with other people like Ant-Man. But there aren't people who are like, I wish Falcon had a movie. Bucky, I understand. Bucky should have been Captain America. Bucky is Captain America's lifelong friend. Would have made way more sense. But that's not what they did. So, let me put this back up here. I'm done ranting about the MCU. This is my tier list with Falcon at the very bottom because it sucks. I can do more of these if you guys like this video. This is way longer than I expected it to be. But if you want to do a Star Wars one and you want to hear me scream more about how they ruined Star Wars, I can do that. But yeah, I can do a video game one. I might do a Call of Duty one. But that's all I have to say. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree or disagree with my list. I know you disagree, but what you think of my list. See you on the next one.